Fans of the Horus Heresy, thank you very much for joining me for another video, and in this review we're going to take a look at the rules and tactics around the Solar Auxilia Tactical Command section and Legate Commander or Lord Marshal. So following on from my previous overview of the build and miniatures for the Solar Auxilia Command section set, now let's take a look at the rules for these guys. I'm going to do this review in two sections. I'm first going to talk about the tactical command section itself, and then I'm going to talk separately about the Lord Marshal or Legate Commander, because he's actually a separate purchase in the army list and can be fielded independently, although really it's designed so you would buy the commander and then have him accompanied by the tactical squad as well. But I'll do it that way. It also fits better with the rules around these guys. So there are an awful lot of special rules that have a bearing on this unit. So I'm going to try my very best to cover all these off. So there are quite a lot. So Solar Auxilia Tactical Command section. So this is 75 points for 5 troopers. And the 5 people within this is the Strategist, the Vexillarius, the Proclamator, and 2 veteran troopers as well. So let's go through these one by one. The Strategist is a human hero. He's got 2 wounds, ballistic skill 4, leadership 8, and he is equipped. He has an ordnance attack called precision bombardment. So this is a one use per battle attack. With a typical sort of rules around those artillery strikes, and it's a large blast, so that's a hard-hitting one-off attack, useful for maybe smashing a tank up that you need, or a vehicle, a powerful squad you want to disrupt. Next we have the Vexillarius, so this guy with the impressive cohort Vexilla flag. So this guy brings the cohort Vexilla brings a special rule to the force. So it has all the benefits of a standard troop Vexilla. In addition, it means any friendly models within 24 inches of the Vexilla those units can ignore casualties when making any morale checks. So yeah, so that adds to the already good morale of the Solar Auxilia force. The next person we have is the Proclamator. He's equipped with a Nuncio Vox, so obviously useful for directing artillery fire. And it also has another benefit which stacks well with the Lord Marshal when equipped with a special defensive field called the Lord Matrix, but I will come back to that later. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention, the Strategist is also equipped with the Cognis Signum as well. So another useful piece of command gear there. Now, the veterans. So you get 2 veterans in the squad as standard. These guys come equipped base with a las rifle. The las rifle has a collimator and a blast charger, so you can have that highest strength 6 heavy 1 attack. But really, you want to take at least 2 special weapons, and you can always take 2, doesn't matter how many veterans you have. And you get the following weapon options: a Volkite charger, a grenade launcher, equipped with kinetic Tempest and crack grenades. Within that, the Tempest is the standout weapon because that has haywire effect, so that's useful for anti-tank. You can also equip them with a flamer, a rotor cannon, a melter gun, or a plasma gun. So a selection of special weapons, which is useful because normally Solar Auxilia infantry don't have access to such arms. You can also take up to 5 additional veterans. They have a ballistic skill of 4, as all troops do in this squad, and they're equipped with las rifles as well. And at 5 points each, it's a useful way of increasing the squad size and its firepower, and also having a few people to take some casualties if you get shot at as well, without losing your specialist troops. You can take you've got 2 dedicated transport options. You can take a Dracosan armoured transport, and you can also take an Arvus lighter orbital shuttle. Now, given the Lord Commander's potential close combat abilities and some of his esoteric special equipment, shall we say, the orbital shuttle, the Arvis, is worthy of consideration for getting in close to cause trouble. So I think that's everything to say about the actual command section itself. Clearly it's designed as an anchor point for several Solar Auxilia tercios, and it brings a few additional weapons and lots of special abilities to enhance the strength of your basic infantry troops as well. Okay, so now let's move on and talk about the Legate Commander, this guy here. So the Legate Commander is the leader of a Solar Auxilia force, and he comes at a fairly decent human level hero profile for 45 points, equipped with void armor, close combat weapon, refractor field, frag and crack grenades, and he has a special rule called High Command. High Command is another morale boosting ability, and this one's really strong, and it basically means, and it says that any model that isn't, as long as the commander isn't falling back or in a vehicle or engaged in assault, all friendly units in the same detachment can test on his leadership value, with applied with other normal modifiers. So that's very powerful because basically it puts all your troops at least leadership 9. However, what I would do is I would also always pay the extra 35 points to take him up to a Lord Marshal, which is like a major human hero. That increases his leadership stat to 10, gives him an additional attack, boosts his initiative to 4. Having done that, you've now got leadership 10 for all your troops, and coupled with the cohort Vexler, you can also ignore casualties, and then you have the troop Vexler benefits on top of that. So lots of stacked up morale bonus abilities there. And utilising those on the battlefield is key to maintaining the integrity of the Solar Auxilia force. The commander has a bewildering array of weapons, defensive equipment and armour available. I'll mention a couple of highlights. Some of these are only available to the Lord Marshal. The Lord Marshal, you can buy an Inferno pistol, which is a rather rare weapon in 30k. A Lord Marshal can purchase an Archaeotech pistol and also has access to a Paragon blade. So that's a useful, if you're looking to build a close combat monster character, the Paragon blade is very useful, and when we look at some of his other abilities, that actually it can stack up to be rather formidable. He can take an Iron Halo, a Cyber Familiar, and Artificer Armour, and for 10 points he can mastercraft one of his weapons as well. So, moving up again to the Lord Marshal ability. So the Lord Marshal brings even more capability to this character choice. So there's a couple of special bits of equipment that he can get only. So and special abilities. So first special ability is called Household Retinue. What this means is you can take Velatari Storm sections as household retinues. So these are like the hardest veterans in your force. They get weapon skill 4. They lose hold the line rule, so it makes them a bit more vulnerable to morale. And I think that reflects their veteran status, that they're not quite so willing to throw their lives away. But they also gain preferred enemy infantry. So that's very potent, and they then count as elites, and they can take the usual Dracosan Armoured Transport as a dedicated transport. And they can also get an Arvis Lighter as well, so you can have some very fast-moving elite squads there with the Lord Marshal present. And then there's another special rule that the Lord Marshal gets called Forged in War. Forged in War is brilliant. You can choose your Warlord trait. I think there's only a handful of characters that can do that. I mean, Fulgrim springs to mind, the Primarch of the Emperor's Children, but it's a very rare ability. And the Forged in War is good because the Solar Auxilia have a lot of situational Warlord traits. So I'll just run through my favourites of these. If you're looking to be a close combat monster, shall we say, the Uncanny Survivor Warlord trait is the one to go for, granting Eternal Warrior, so no more instant kills. If you want firepower, Shattering Bombardment allows one of any weapon within 6 inches to count as a ordnance weapon. Blind Barrage allows all your turns to be shrouded on the first turn of a battle. And finally, Siege Master. You can choose a single piece of cover, and once the table is set up, and that cover is loses 1 point on its cover saving throw. So it's the same as the Mechanicum Battlefield Analysis trait. But that just means if the enemies hold up in a fortification, you can knock the defensive capabilities of that down a point. So yeah, very useful Warlord traits there. A couple of bits of equipment to mention that the Lord Marshal gets access to. There is the Gravwave generator. Basically, anyone trying to charge the unit or a character carrying a Gravwave generator loses D3 inches from their charge roll, in addition to other penalties, and they also lose any Hammer of the Wrath attacks. So clever positioning of this unit can really wrong foot enemy assault troops. And then the second bit of special gear worth mentioning for the Lord Marshal is the Displacer Matrix. The Displacer Matrix confers a 3+ invulnerable save to the Marshal, which is obviously a very high defense value. If you roll a 1, however, he warps out into the Immaterium and is removed from play. Don't worry though, he's not being consumed by a warp monster yet. He enters the ongoing reserves. Now this is where our friend the Proclamator comes in with the Nuncio box. That allows, that gives you an automatic reference point for the Lord Marshal to warp back in if he gets displaced out of the battlefield through 1 result on his matrix. So yeah, a very good defensive capability and a way of offsetting the warping effect as well. So I think that's everything I wanted to say about the Solar Auxilia command section. There are some other options, but what I've covered here are the key things that I think this unit brings to the Solar Auxilia force. I think it's well worth adding this unit from a tactical viewpoint. And if you really want, your Lord Marshal can be very potent in close combat when equipped with a Paragon Blade, Artificer Armour, a master-crafted weapon, digital lasers for an additional attack, and Eternal Warrior as a Warlord trait. So watch out, Space Marine Praetors. So yes, thank you very much for watching this review. If you have any comments or observations, please leave them in the commentary section. Thank you very much for listening as always, and I will speak to you next time. Goodbye.